Thank you for watching today. This is Minur. Welcome to another Starfield video. Let's take a look at what vehicles in Starfield could look like, but probably won't. We'll consider the practical effects of ground vehicles, and wander around in another game's vision for vehicles, No Man's Sky. So let's get started. So we're here on Grissom in the Alpha Centauri system, and I'm just doing a little run-up to a science outpost, which is 638 meters away. Actually, it was almost 1,000 meters from the ship where I landed. But what I wanted to look at in the context of the new vehicles that we're thinking we're going to get sometime soon, particularly buggies, is how practical that's going to be in an environment like this. This entire environment is strewn with rocks, and the path from my ship over to the science outpost is actually not bad. I could see in a buggy being able to navigate this. Now, we will have to find out how a buggy is going to actually get around stones like this, or what it does when it hits it. But I will note that out to the side, there's a lot of terrain that a buggy's not going to do us any good in at all. There are deep craters that will make it effectively meaningless, and you're going to have to get out and somehow move across it. And I don't know how we're going to be able to summon those. That we've seen some leaks that may or may not be accurately reflecting what we're going to get from Bethesda, but I think it seems like the timing is right, that something's going to happen sometime soon, so I'm very optimistic at this point. Whether we get a buggy that has 1 seat, 2 seats, whether it's closed in and gives us protection from the environment is another question. But at the very least, if we get a buggy, it's going to give us some additional mobility options on planets where the terrain is compatible with the buggy. That's going to be what we're looking at in the first place. So this is a science outpost over here. So once we have discovered the location, we can now fast travel to it just using existing game mechanics. Like, I can go back to the landing area in front of the ship. I can come back to this at will. So there's an open question on whether the land vehicles are going to help us in every environment, or if they're just going to help us in some very specific environments where we can actually drive around on the ground. And, you know, there's a lot of planets where that's going to be useful. I'm going to show you how this works in No Man's Sky, and just give you an example of the way the ground vehicles work in that game, with some of the obstacles that you run into and some of the things you can do to upgrade them. And, you know, I'm doing this just essentially because I wanted to take a look at this before the vehicles dropped in Starfield and get an idea of, you know, how it might help. And let's go take a look at that now. All right, so we are here at one of my bases. Well, this is the largest base I have in this particular saved game, and there's nothing particularly, I'm not going to worry about what's inside here right now. We're just going to show you the vehicles that are outside, because it's a nice sunny day. And I think one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to camera mode right off the bat. Whoops. I have Starfield camera controls in mind. So you can see my base, and probably more importantly, we can see the vehicles that are here. So I have a mech suit. I have the Pilgrim, which is essentially, you can see it from this side, it is a motorcycle, 2-wheeled. We have the Nomad, which is a 4-pod hovercraft, just 4 feet. We have the Roamer, which is a buggy, and it's enclosed. And then we have, let's see if I can move up, the Colossus, which is 8 wheels, kind of an off-road, high-capacity, all-terrain transport kind of vehicle. Now, all of these are, let's get back inside. All of these are essentially single occupant cockpits, and they're all, you'll notice, they're on these pads that you can use to summon them. So if this is somewhere on the planet or it's someplace else, can't be seen, I'll show you that real quickly. I can summon it here. Let's get inside. I'm just going to drive. Let's stand over here so I'm not activating the pod. So I'm just going to drive off. I'm going to stop and hop out right next to it. I just materialized next to it. And you'll see back here on the summoning station, there's this kind of golden glow hologram of it, and I just have to summon it to bring it back. So if you ever lose them, if you leave them someplace on the planet, someplace completely different, they're going to be there for you. So I'm going to do a quick demo in the Roamer. And this is a WASD key control, and I'm sure on the console. It works with the controller just fine. I have a couple of controls here. I can hit the spacebar, and it has a little bit of a bounce. Maybe you can see it if I stop. It's like it's got suspension, right? So like you can sometimes jump out of a situation. It has on top of it a mining laser. I'm just going to shoot that little critter over there. So you can use it to do that, and in a typical No Man's Sky fashion, the materials that you gather just kind of magically float back into your ship and go into your inventory. And then the last thing I'll show you, last two things, is if you hit something, it just destroys it, and you take a little bit of damage. You have to repair the ship at some point or recharge it, something to that effect. But, you know, you can just kind of charge around, and you'll see there's a little boost I have. And you can do some drifting and some spinning around, and you can have a little fun with these things. And I think this is kind of an interesting side thing they added. You can build racetracks in the game. So there are some parts you can use, or you can set up ramps and jumps and maybe some speed boosts, which feels a little Mario Kart-like. But, you know, I'm not complaining. If you're going to play multiplayer, you can set up a racetrack and race your fans. I don't think we're gonna get that in Starfield anytime soon. I don't have to return this location, so I won't. So I'm going to show you the little motorcycle next, the Pilgrim. And I don't have this one upgraded very much. So if I open up my inventory and I look at the Exocraft tab, it has a booster module and an engine, and that's it. No weapons, nothing spectacular. It does have, let me go back in, it has cargo spots. So it can hold quite a bit of cargo, and anything that's in my inventory I can transfer back and forth. So if you're out enjoying the landscape, it's got a little bit more of a jump, it's got a little bit more of a boost. You can do that. Spin, slide. It's, you know, it's just a fun little craft, right? And the key to this craft is that you know, it's just fast and nimble, and you can jump it off things. I don't think it takes damage. It might not take any damage if you just leap off a cliff in it. This one is the Nomad, and I'm just going to go ahead and get in here. And the nice thing about the Nomad is it is a hovercraft. And so we have some water out here. We'll just do a quick trip out here. I'm not going to go all the way to that island even. It floats on water, or it floats over the top of water. That's all I can tell you. I don't have any weapons on it. Nothing spectacular. You can, when you exit it, you'll end up on top. So if you wanted to go to a particular spot in the water and swim underwater and gather something, like, oh, that just refreshed my oxygen, like shoot fish in a barrel or something like that. I don't know. I got some ferrite dust out there. You can do that. I'm not going to go into this. And then you could come back and land on top of the Nomad and get back inside. So it's really useful from that perspective. You can take it places. A little bit of a boost. I don't have this thing. I don't have a lot of modules installed in it. Just park this guy out here. We'll leave it in the grass. Let's look at the... Oh, it fell off. That's really quite unusual. I don't know why that's fallen off, but it's supposed to be up here on top of this little summoning station. So we'll summon the Colossus here, and we'll jump inside. And it's a nice big vehicle. It's a big boy, big fat boy. It also has, if I can get a view of it, it has the little jump. So I can jump it a little bit. It was stuck. It has a boost, not much of a boost. But the thing to keep in mind on this one is I actually have it upgraded, I think, fairly well. So it has an advanced laser, which means it can gather higher end materials. It has a radar amplifier, exocraft. It has a heater and protection from, what is this protection from? Radiation. So radiation and from heat and cold. And so, you know, this is a device that you can, let's see if I can move this onto these hotspots here. I don't know that these are super important. I'm going to put these onto these special little spots. These spots give it a boost. You can see that. But one of the things you can do with the radar that's installed, the exocraft radar, is you can search for things like show me an abandoned structure. And it found one. Now, I don't know how far it's going to be away on the planet. I'm not really sure what direction it is. But if I get out, I could probably... If I get out, I could probably go find it in my ship and pretty easily gather whatever materials are there. So I'm going to hop out of this one. Kind of buried in the weeds. I'm just going to run up to these and I'm going to resummon them back to their spots just to get them out. We're going to clean up the yard. Get the Nomad back. We're going to get the Roamer back. And we're going to put the Colossus back on its stand right there. So we're going to take a look at the Minotaur mech suit, which is kind of cool looking. Let's see if I can get a view of it. I don't have this one upgraded much, but you can paint. I should show you this too. All of these have a modification panel, so you can paint these guys. Let's just make him very red with some orange or some black and some gray. I think that's it. Save the changes. I'm not even sure that cost me anything. So now we have a red mech, and I'm going to hit the G key and switch him over to his cannon. I'm going to recharge. Do I need to recharge his cannon? Let's recharge his cannon with oxygen. Okay, he has a cannon. Switch over to the bore or the laser. We're going to use the laser. Not the fastest guy on the block. No turbo, no boost built into him. I don't have much in the way of additional upgrade. I do actually, so I have more. The laser's upgraded, the bore. He has a good radar array, things like that too, so. But you can use them to gather and fight things. And he can jump in space. Still, I would say in general, from the base configuration of most of these, and I'm just estimating that your ability to travel on foot is probably a little slower. However, depending on the terrain, you could still find yourself in a position where traveling on foot is advantageous. And I think, you know, one of the other things worth keeping in mind is in my build menu, I have an exocraft summoning station. I could put it on a planet that's far away from here in another system, and it would allow me to summon my exocraft to that planet. And so sometimes when I'm exploring another planet, I'll just set one of these down, summon an exocraft from across the galaxy, just kind of magically shows up, and then I'll wander around inside it, especially if the weather is hazardous. So, you know, I think what we've heard in Starfield as far as vehicles go is that, and again, this is speculation. I mean, we don't have any real sense that this is exactly how it's going to be, but that we might be looking more at a buggy, right? That might be literally what we're after here. I have a flashlight here. There you go, that's the 14. So we might be looking at a buggy, and I think the leak said that they might be open, and there might be a two-seater, and there might be a closed version. So that might mean that they operate in some environments that are harsh, or maybe we're just kind of left to our own suit for protection. So whatever our suit is capable of protecting us from is what we're going to have protection from inside the buggy. And the two-seater probably is because there are companions in the game. You really don't have that analog in No Man's Sky. But the buggy's, you know, a pretty basic vehicle. It'll be interesting to see if we get a buggy or buggies, if they have storage capacity in addition to what we have, if they have weapons, if they can be modified, or if they just kind of are what they are. I think what we heard early was that the buggies were just associated with the ship. So if you landed your ship on the planet's surface, the buggy would be there, which is fine. I don't think it has to be as complex as, I think in Elite Dangerous, you might have to actually carry it in a cargo bay, have room for it, you know, accommodate storage for it, and then be able to get it in and out of the vehicle. The other thing I will note is that even without the summoning station, because those exist on this planet, let's see, do I have this set up? I do have this set up. I'm going to go over here. Okay. Is that oxygen? We'll just take the oxygen because oxygen. I can at any... Oh, I got to get rid of him. Nope, that's just a bean. I can summon these craft anywhere I am on this planet. So if, I mean, I'm pretty close here, but if, let's say I was far, far away and I had flown my ship somewhere and I wanted to summon one of these things and bring it with me, it'll transport right there and you just jump in it. Also a great way to take a bunch of inventory. If you don't have as many inventory slots as I have at this point in time, and you want to store a bunch of things inside a ship, you can do that. So it's a good way to kind of ferry materials back and forth. So I think that is the sum total of vehicles that are available in No Man's Sky at the moment. And, you know, I don't think we're going to get the same thing, but I think, you know, we might get something that's a little similar in some ways. I'll be honest, I don't think these have been truly revolutionary and game-changing for my exploration, just because they're not the fastest thing out there, and in a lot of cases it's more efficient once I find something to jump inside an actual spaceship and fly to it. So I think let's take an example. I don't even know if that's on my radar anymore. Those are places out there. I don't know what that is. You know, we ran our radar or our scanner earlier to find a remote location, and in your exocraft you might look at it and get inside the exocraft and it tells you it's going to take 15 minutes, and that's 15 minutes in real life to drive your vehicle there, in which case, you know, it would certainly take a lot longer on foot, but you have a ship that you can fly in. And frankly, if you jump in your ship and you put in a little bit of launch fuel, you can just take off in space and go there directly with your ship. So the vehicles themselves aren't really, they're very helpful, but they're really just a utility item that you use in some specific situations. Like if you're on a hostile planet and you would rather just be out wandering around gathering resources and looking at things, you can, but let's say in the middle of a severe storm, you're trying to collect, there's some crystals that only are visible in a storm. So you might want to drive there inside a protected vehicle, hop out, grab them, and before you take any real damage, jump back in. So it works that way. And then I think, you know, there are some mods in Starfield that allow you to summon your ship to your location very much the same way I can summon any ship in No Man's Sky to my location. And that takes part of the travel problem off the table, really. So if you're in Starfield and you run 4,000 meters, or you run 4 kilometers away and you're off in the middle of nowhere, you already have a fast travel option, which is essentially if you just point your scanner at something in the distance, you can hit a button and fast travel back, and you don't have to do that. I think it's all going to turn into a question of how are these things actually implemented in the game, and what can we do with the exact vehicle they give us. And I've said this before on a live stream, and I'm going to say it again because I think it's worth keeping in mind, is that keeping my expectations low has been a productive and satisfying strategy when it comes to Starfield. And I don't mean that in a way that the game is not enjoyable and satisfying. Clearly, I play a lot of Starfield. I have 1,500 hours in Starfield, and I have a channel which is exclusively focused on Starfield at this point in time. I truly enjoy the game. However, part of that enjoyment is that I don't bring a lot of high expectations to it. I look at it and I say to myself and to anybody that'll listen, it's a Bethesda game, and it was launched in September of 2023. So we're 10 months out, and we've seen a lot of dramatic improvements in the game. And I think the vehicles are going to be another version of that, or another opportunity for them to give us something new and different that's going to change the way the game plays. It's not going to be revolutionary, I don't think. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope, you know, maybe we come back and people comment on this video in a month or two from now, whenever they come out, and they say, you know, wow, Kinnear, you know, these are amazing. They've changed everything. But I think they're going to be one part of the bigger picture. And if you play with that kind of play style and you find them useful, then they're going to have a larger impact on your game. I know that's kind of saying, you know, you'll either like them or you won't like them, and that's up to you, but that's ultimately the way it works. And so I think I'm going to wrap this thing up right now. Thanks for watching, and please keep an eye on the channel, like, subscribe, and share. If you like this content, keep your eyes open for community updates and for live streams that I'm doing a little more often. Thanks. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Just a reminder, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is to try one more time. Whatever you're trying to do can seem impossible until it's done, so keep at it. Success is closer than you think. Please click that subscribe button and notification bell, and I hope you come back for more. Until next time, this is Kinnear, and I'm out.